good evening, everyone. Our our memo for today is to inform each students that is part of UCMTC to participate for our upcoming limited face-to-face classes. These classes is intended only for student who is fully vaccinated, and the face-to-face classes are conducted only twice a week and to be effective today, June 6, 2022, school year 2021-2022. This limited face-to-face classes is granted by our school president and was approved by the Department of Health and the Commission on Higher Education. To ensure the safety and protection of every student and concerned personnel inside the campus, we must follow the minimum health protocols such as wearing face masks, frequent hand washing, proper sanitation, and maintain social distancing to avoid the spread of the said virus. So for information and management, please be guided. Okay. So do you have any questions regarding this memo?
I have questions. If a
So
student should not be if a student should not be vaccinated, what will he do? And the student is willing to study.
so Mr. Carl Daetik will answer to that question. Mr. Carl Daetik?
Okay, so regarding to the vaccination and whether the students will be vaccinated or not, that question no, will be answered later on our agenda.
Okay. So
Okay.
any other questions?
Sir, if how about for those students that living far away from school and
Okay, that's yeah. Continue.
the class is only 2 days, twice a week. How can they
Okay,
participate in class if there's no budget about
okay, that's a good question. No, uh, it really depends on the situation, or rather, the topic discussed on the subject that he has. Let's say, for example, he has laboratory subjects and he could not uh, travel because of low budget. Uh, like we said before, we enrolled to this subject, so we should take risk. We should invest to this subject, no, because we enrolled to this. If there's furthermore excuse to that, the consideration will depend on our professors, depending on the situation their subject has. If they are just having a little lecture on their laboratory, let's say, for example, they're discussing on parts of their subject, and it's up to the professor if he or she will consider the reason. And if it is a departmental exam or a final exam or major exams, rather, uh, we will do our best to give our students special exams if any necessary. Thank you. Any other question?
So any other question, guys? I guess it is all answered by Mr. Carl Daetik. So we will proceed to the discussion of our agenda. Stop. Good evening, everyone. So I have called you all today to tackle about the limited face-to-face class, since as what you have known. Our petition to have the certain classes is already approved by the Department of Health and the Commission on Higher Education. For today's meeting, I will let Mr. Carl Daetik to further address today's agenda. Mr. Carl Daetik?
Okay, so good evening, everyone. Our meeting agenda is all about limited face-to-face classes. We shall talk about what certain precautions should our school imply to lessen the spread. Next agenda is the meeting of students on what certain days or weeks. Next agenda would be which students should we approve to have these limited classes. Okay, so what are the terms that had been tackled of our first agenda agreement? Can you read it, Mr. Matthew?
So our agreed agenda for precaution is precautions the school shall imply to lessen the spread during the classes.
Okay, so any questions regarding this agenda?
Excuse me, I have concern.
Yes, Mr. Laput?
If the students or the visitor inside the university and they are not wearing face masks, what will be the consequence of that?
We will let our security take their IDs. Any ID would be fine as long as it's valid. It could be um, student ID, uh, um, PhilHealth ID, as long as it's not credit card or debit card, and submit it to our dean's office. If college, it's senior high school, we would submit it to the guidance office, and there they will be given a little talk. They'll be told to wear mask as safety precautions to decrease spread of the virus.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any more questions regarding this agenda?
I have questions.
Yeah. Yes, Mr. Gakrama.
Mm, How can you give us assurance of the safety of the students inside the campus?
Uh, we can assure you that they are 100% safety, as we would let them go through first our what you call this one, triage before they go in the school. They would sign papers that they don't have any symptoms, and they are students must be fully vaccinated, or if not, they would submit their monthly swab test results. And second, they we implement social distancing, at least 1 meters each, and then they're before they go in the classroom, they are required to wash their hands.
Okay, thank you.
Uh, any other questions?
So, Mr. Carl Dietrich, proceed to the next agenda, please.
Okay, so the current our next agenda is the meeting of certain students on what certain days or weeks. Okay, what are the terms again that have been tackled on the second agenda, Mr. Matthew?
So our agreed agenda for second is the current schedule for students to have classes.
Okay, so schedules of our students to have classes. And does anyone have questions regarding this topic?
Can I ask some questions, sir? How many subjects that will be have classes in that day? If it's
Depending on the quarantine level of our city, we would like to limit the subjects. We would prioritize our laboratory subjects at least twice a week, if possible. And then, if the alert level decreases, we would open uh, some of our major lecture subjects. Any other questions?
until what time can students stay the campus?
Uh, Depending on their scheduled subjects, our subjects have at least 3 hours per subject. If they are scheduled in the evening, they would at least have 3 hours in their subject, depending on what subjects they have on that schedule.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so no more questions regarding this agenda.
I guess there's no other questions, so please proceed to next agenda.
Okay, so Mr. Matthew, can you please read our third agenda?
So our third agenda, we agreed that which student should we approve to have classes.
Okay, so is there any questions in this agenda regarding to which student should be approved to have the class?
I guess there's no other questions, so your proposal for today is approved.
Okay, so I think that is all for our meeting this evening.
Okay, okay.